space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilization, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Greetings, salutations, and welcome to Retrek. I'm Captain Jim, and with me, of course, is Admiral Elliot.
Hi there.
And we're here belatedly. Do apologise for the lateness of this broadcast / podcast. We've had family this week.
Yeah.
That'll do.
Yeah,
So
we've got families. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah, that's why we're late. But we are here to talk about the latest episode, the mid-season premiere, I suppose, of Prodigy. Lower Decks.
Yeah.
Nearly said Lower Decks, and it's called Kobayashi, which you can only imagine there must have been like a meeting in the writer's room. And for all, this is my fantasy version of how Star Trek is produced. So they have a massive big writer's room with all the different writers from each of the different shows, and they all have a big meeting. And somebody must have said, you know what were cool? The Kobayashi Maru. And then they've all just scuttled off to their own room trying to knock out an episode really quick.
It actually happened differently to that. I read an interview about it. And this episode has actually been in production since 2019.
Really?
Yeah, it's like from when they first started to put together, and they decided they needed something with Del's character arc. So they had a bit of a chat, and then someone said Kobayashi, one of the lead writers. Aiden, I can't remember his surname, begins with W.
Right.
And like the producers let him run with it.
Oh, cool.
At one, and like he sort of and he realized, well, to do it, and like he put forward, let's get legacy characters. At one time, it was 9 legacy characters they were off to bring in.
Oh, gosh, right.
But they couldn't make the script work around it.
That's the problem. So that answered one of my biggest questions. Then somebody has spent a hell of a lot of time pulling. Out
it's taken from 40 episodes plus movies. Yeah,
there's if you Google it, somebody's done the hard work, and there's a few videos already where it matches it up, and it's just so clever. But we'll
the only part that isn't sort of previous audio is they got Gates McFadden in to play herself, Beverly, because they decided that they needed at least one character that they could interact properly with.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So you could do really good line.
Yeah, that they can actually script the dialogue for, rather than having to make it.
Then working around it. Yeah, like he was saying, like it started the task by like the wrote a script, and then he'd go back through the old scripts and he'd see what had been said, especially with TOS. And there might be a great line that Uhura had said, but because of how it was shot, you can hardly hear what she says.
Right.
So they couldn't use it. So it's made his job like double difficult, looking like 2 or 3 times for the right line.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like the logistics of it now. I bet you could, because obviously, I'm willing to bet that the people who make Star Trek get paid a little bit more for it than we do for doing this podcast. So
if they get paid anything, they're getting paid more than we get paid for this podcast. Let's be honest.
Yeah, so I think don't give away the secrets behind the scenes. People think they're rolling in it. So yeah, they can probably get someone and go, right, I want you to digitize all the scripts for all the Star Trek series. When you've done that, bring it to me. And then you could just do a search for term, couldn't you? So you could do search for neutral zone, and it'll tell you every time somebody said neutral zone.
But they've looked at picking actual lines out as opposed to word, then a word, then a word. So the big lines out.
But you'd look like neutral zone, and then you go, Spock said this about neutral zone. We can use that, or still, it's
the other thing that you notice is that it sounds like it comes from the original series and the movies. And they were saying that's been a deliberate thing.
All
That
right.
they could have cleaned up the audio a lot more and brought it
Mm.
sort of level with, like, Dal in the holodeck. But they decided no, they wouldn't do that. That they wanted to leave it
Yeah,
how
it's
we all know it was.
well, that's
Because
it.
there's no getting around it. 3 of these characters have passed away.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, and yeah, there's a charm to it, listening to it, and also it's one of them things that they probably thought, oh, this is going to drive the fans crazy trying to work out which episodes it's from, and I mean, as it turns out, and people have already done the YouTube videos.
Yeah, well,
I don't know how. I don't know how they've done it in that time frame.
I
It's
know what
crazy.
you mean. Like, I've lost my train of thought. It can't be that important.
No, it's because you're so caught up in this episode.
I am.
But
Like, one of the nice things, I learnt my lesson with Discovery. In the first season, I watched the trailer for the following week.
yeah,
And I'm watching all these and avoiding any spoilers until I've watched.
yeah.
So this was a really nice surprise. Was it a really unexpected surprise?
And to be fair, like I think that's been a lot easier with Prodigy as well, because I don't feel like Prodigy has saturated social media as much as the other shows do.
No, but I think after this episode, this last week, there's a lot more talk of Prodigy on social media. It really gained the show traction.
Yeah, this is definitely the exception, and it has elevated its profile, and rightly so. Everybody's talking about it.
Yeah, like if you're gonna do something like this, it could have gone so badly wrong, and they've got it just right.
Yeah,
They've done it really, really well.
Yeah, it's just wonderful, the whole sequence and everything, and we'll dig into it a little bit, but it's one of them that, you know, we had to start the episode talking about that moment, because
it was either we started with that or we just went nailed it, double nailed it.
Yeah, that's what this episode.
Because we have got a nailed it and a double nailed it this episode.
There we go. Then
right. And this is jumping right to the end of the episode.
Yeah.
But we nailed it that Chakotay was to blame for losing the Protostar.
Yep.
And we nailed it that even when he made captain, he'd still have Janeway looking over his back.
Yeah, that's very true. We did. Yeah, poor Chakotay. I mean, you know what? We might find out that it were really heroic and it wasn't his fault and he did everything he could. But
he was in charge of the Protostar when it's gone missing, by the looks of it.
I like the idea that the writers don't like Chakotay either. They decided that Chakotay is going to be the one who gets a kicking in everything.
It's just the way that, like, we did say this early on, didn't we? That it'd just be ironic if he made captain of the Protostar and Janeway was there as his hologram advisor still.
Yeah, and that appears to be exactly the case. One last thing just on the title of the episode. So even though you've peeled back the curtain and shown me that they don't have this big writers' room meeting now, if this has been in development since 2019, Prodigy should have been allowed to call this Kobayashi Maru then. And Discovery should have had to just call the episode Kobayashi. But I think maybe because Discovery aired first, they're like, well, we're going first, so we're going to call it that.
They maybe pulled it because, like, the flagship show out the bit at the moment. But let's be honest, this is Kobayashi Maru more than the Prodigy one. More than Discovery was.
Definitely, yeah.
This is actually the Kobayashi Maru test.
Yeah, that was thematically Kobayashi Maru. I mean, we talked about it at the time. Like, you don't realise till halfway through the episode why it's called what it's called.
Yeah. But
this one, yeah,
like this episode has a couple of other things going on, but it's the Kobayashi Maru that is the centre of the episode.
Very much so.
it's a great story what's done, and the story's overshadowed by how they did it.
Yeah, I think you bang on there.
It's
What's got everyone talking is just these cameos that they've done,
Yeah.
which are wonderful. But anyway, we'll cover what happens before and after it, just for the sake of completeness. But that is the big part of the episode. So we pick up bang on where we left off. The ship comes out of, I'm calling it proto-warp until we're given an official term for it.
That works for me.
So it's coming out of proto-warp, and we get this thing. How fast were we going? We were going warp 9 point something. And
Well, it's got to be warp 9.9 something on it.
Yeah, because Jankum's dialogue gets, I think, probably deliberately obscured because they don't want to give a number. And then...
Because, well, if they give a precise number, there are things that you can use to work out if it's accurate.
And it's one of those, isn't it, where it's like, I would rather they don't give an exact number than give an exact number, and then within 2 minutes, people are all over social media going, well, actually, if you check the warp scale, that's not accurate, and blah, 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 blah.
Well, we've done that ourselves.
We have, yeah, exactly. You don't want dickheads like us, stuff like that, and slagging it off. So it's very clever doing it that way so that it doesn't have any problem. But now that it goes online, we do get this graphic, and they've gone from the Delta Quadrant to the Gamma Quadrant, seemingly, which is pretty cool. It's the first bit of Gamma Quadrant action we've had since Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, and, well, it's only the second series to ever go into the Gamma Quadrant, in this case.
So I'd be quite up for this if we can start exploring a bit of the Gamma Quadrant. I don't know if we will, but it's good.
I have seen the next episode already, but I'm not going to say anything. But it's not. It doesn't happen in this episode, so I'd be really happy if we see some more of the founders and the Jem'Hadar and see how they've taken to the loss with the Federation.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, if they come across them, are they going to be really aggressive, or
have they gone more isolationist again, or have they started to maybe rethink the ways a little bit? Because,
well, they were never defeated in the Gamma Quadrant. They were just pushed back not to come back to the Alpha Quadrant.
Well, that's it. But I think what they... I mean,
sorry, that's a spoiler for our DS9 series, the Dominion War we're doing. But you probably forget about that by the time we get to the end.
Yeah, probably. With the amount of new shows we've got, it's going to be a while. Though we do have one for you this week, so we're slowly getting through the Dominion War. But yeah, because the Dominion had an absolute stranglehold on the Gamma Quadrant, but as soon as they came up against another galactic power, they lost. So how does a species that's like that take that defeat? That'd be a really interesting thing to explore. So once we've done that, we then get into just the first of many, many Easter eggs. So Dal's playing the game from the TNG episode, The Game, which... This is a very kind of... You'd expect this kind of callback more in Lower Decks, really. Because it's, why is that there? That doesn't make a lot of sense. The game, where it was a dodgy thing to corrupt people's minds or whatever it was doing. I can't remember entirely. It'd take people over, but...
It sort of brainwashed them, didn't it? That they couldn't stop playing it. It
don't make a lot of sense that this is here, but... That's just a tiny, tiny little callback compared to what we're going to get. And we're also doing this, the rest of the crew, everyone apart from Dal basically thinks the Federation sounds great. And they want to go give that a bash. But Dal's not so keen. And that's carrying on where he was when we left it at the mid.
Yeah, he's sort of like, do we really want to go join them? We've just escaped someone. And all that. Let's enjoy our freedom for a bit. And you can see his point in a way.
You can. I wonder if there's an element of, oh, well, I've just got this new toy and I don't want to go give it back to the Federation just yet.
Yeah, because the Federation will take it straight back off them.
You would think so, yeah. I mean, you don't want a bunch of kids joyriding in your prototype spaceship, though they might go, hey, you did a better job than Admiral Chakotay or Captain Chakotay.
Yeah, he lost it. At least you got it back.
Yeah, well done. You're promoted. Chakotay can be your number one. So, yeah. And we get a little thread in this episode is Gwyn's going to thank Dal, but he says, oh, it was Janeway's idea that we went back for you. And, at that point, you're thinking, oh, was it? Because we didn't see that scene and we commented on that at the time. And obviously, we get the payoff to that later in the episode that we find out, no, it wasn't at all. It was actually Dal's idea, which is what we expected.
Yeah. And that shows a good side of him, that he's not leaving someone behind.
Yeah, maybe he will make a good captain one day.
Yeah,
but...
it's like he sort of made himself captain because he sort of had the plan to escape. And he found the ship, but...
Yeah, finders keepers.
Yeah, that's basically what he's done, isn't it?
Yeah, he got shotgun. He saw the captain's chair first, so he got to call it, which, I think that's how it works. So yeah, then we first go on to the holodeck, and yeah, again, any other episode, these Easter eggs would have made everybody happy. So we're like, let's go paragliding on SETI Alpha 5, which I'm not sure why you would want to do that. So it's like, okay, we'll go.
And
look,
the thing is, when Kirk left Khan on SETI Alpha 5, it was like a paradise world.
Yeah, it was really nice.
And it's only after Wharf of Khan that they found out it was this sort of desert thing, because the sun had exploded and another planet had...
But the holodeck has decided that's the version that we're going with, is the knackered version. And I can only assume that if you manage to paraglide yourself down safely, you'll find Khan and his men there who will then kidnap you and try and
when they landed, they were straight into the Vulcan's sort of gladiator arena.
Yeah.
And wasn't it nice to play the music from a mock time?
Yes. So, yeah, that was great.
It's like you say, these Easter eggs would have been going, that was brilliant normally. But they're nothing of these Easter eggs to what they do.
Exactly. And then we also get a bit of Dracula, and Janeway references her horror novels.
Yeah, a person I like, Jane Eyre, and thank God they went boring.
Yeah, exactly. No one else liked them, Janeway. So, yeah. But then, we get to the Kobayashi Maru, and it starts off with a really cool graphic, shows all the different com badges and everything.
Yeah.
So again, we'd be like, that's an amazing Easter egg there. We're happy with that. But that's not what we get. That's not what the episode's about. So, first of all, the recording of the Kobayashi Maru is taken...
Well, it looks like you're sat there now.
Well, this is it. Yeah, this is why I'm doing it. So yeah, the actual sound's taken from Wrath of Khan, isn't it? The distress signal. So we're going all out with that. But the Kobayashi Maru itself actually looks like it does in Star Trek 09. So we're straddling the two different timelines, which is always nice. And and then they generate the crew, and we get Uhura, we get Beverly, we get Odo, and we get Spock initially. We get another one later on. And as you said, the Odo and Spock, the actors, sadly, are no longer with us. Nichelle Nichols is very much retired, so she hasn't recorded any dialogue for it. But amazingly, we do get the dialogue taken from the episodes.
Yeah, the best line in it was actually ad-libbed.
Oh, yeah, go on.
By Beverly, when she goes, your levels of stupidity should be in a medical journal. She ad-libbed that and they kept it in.
Oh, fantastic. There you go. Maybe Gates McFadden's feeling
So,
the acting bug
I don't,
again.
I don't recall, but should she get a writing credit in this episode for that?
Ooh, I don't know how the Writers Guild of America rules work. Actually. I would guess that ad libs are not included.
I don't think, yeah, but
because
it'd be a nice touch at the end, wouldn't it?
It would, yeah.
Or additional lines by Gates McFadden.
Sometimes they do that, don't they? Additional dialogue bites.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't swear to this, but I think if it's not in the shooting script, which it wouldn't be if it was an ad-lib,
it was ad-libbed,
then you're not officially credited. But yeah, very good. So as I say, maybe she's getting the acting bug. Maybe she'll turn up in Picard. Who knows?
Well, I'm starting to think this because, like, we didn't do Star Trek news, but there's an article where Robert Duncan O'Neill is interviewed, and he's dodging questions about sort of he's supposedly being approached to reprise his role in Picard. We know Riker appeared in Picard after he'd been in Lower Decks, and
yeah,
it's almost like they're coming to these animated shows and do a bit of a voiceover while they're actually acting in one of the main other shows.
Or they get a feel for the character again.
Yeah.
And think, oh, I've missed this. Yeah, I don't know. And special shout out, though, with the choice of these characters. The fact that we get a DS9 character, because DS9 doesn't seem to get as much love in terms of the callbacks and things like that.
They haven't put a Voyager character in, but we have Janeway anyway.
Yeah, that makes sense. But it's nice to get a bit of acknowledgement.
TOS, Next Gen, DS9. No one from Enterprise.
No, yeah, that'd have been quite nice, I suppose, if they could have dropped an Enterprise crew. But if you say originally they were meant to be 9, maybe that was.
Yeah, like Worf was meant to be in it as well.
Oh,
he was one of the main ones, and I'm quite sure he'd have probably come back and done his character.
I'm sure he would have done.
Because he does that. He's been in so many as Michael Dorn.
Yeah, he'd have probably been like, look, I'll do it if you make the Captain Worf series that I've been badgering you about for quite a while. I like Dal's approach to the Kobayashi Maru. Like, his first one is, right, well, does anybody know the ship? No? Okay, we'll just leave it. It's probably not a bad idea. I mean, it's not going to get you failed any worse. Actually, it would do. It's a test of character, isn't it? So if you don't put yourself in the no-win situation, then you can't really be judged on it. And yeah, I mean, it's just great. We've talked about it. It's fantastic.
Another Easter egg that you might not have noticed, just before he gets Scotty.
Yeah.
When what's his name? Jenkum Pog gets kicked off by Dal. He gets kicked off when he's failed 42 times.
Ah, right, cool. Yeah, I kept track of some of the numbers. Like it says 49. Yeah,
well, that one always. As soon as I ever hear that one, that always, because I'm a big fan of that trilogy. Yeah. Well, not even a trilogy, is it?
It's a trilogy in 5 parts at the latest point, isn't it? And so, yeah, 49 times, 61 times, 74, 99. And I like the one where they just hide behind the security rail. That's pretty good approach to it. And then, we get Scotty, which again is brilliant. And we get movie Scotty, so we get the movie uniforms as well.
Yeah.
So effectively, that's another era that we're referencing.
It is. It's a great reference.
Yeah, the movies
like mustache, jelly man, ears, big red. What did he call the Hoover?
I can't remember. But yeah, it's just great. And the other plots we've got going on, there's this thing, Murph's eating a grenade, basically.
But he's just eating everything, isn't it?
Yeah, but it turns out to be okay. I do like the bit where Rock comes in, like, is it okay if you eat a grenade?
A
Like, no.
plasma grenade.
And then Rock's like, oh, and walks off. So yeah, it's quite good, but everything's overshadowed by that holodeck scene in this episode. We do get a bit more of Gwyn though, and we get this flashback, and we see that Gwyn was basically grown in a test tube, effectively.
Yeah.
And the diviner wanted her to pass on. I mean, I thought when he was saying my progeny, it was just his fancy way of saying my child, but it makes a little bit more sense now that we know that.
Yeah, it's actually she's grown from his genetic material, literally.
Yeah, exactly. So that gives us a little bit more there, and we get a bit more depth to Janeway as well. Like we speculated a lot in the early days about what exactly her deal is, how she works and everything. And here we find out she doesn't know why the diviner wants the ship, and she doesn't know what the proto drive is really.
Yeah,
all of this is being blocked from her. She doesn't know how the ship was lost.
Yeah, she can't access part of her memory.
And this kind of makes sense, though, because if you remember the very early Voyager episodes, it was like the Doctor was wiped every time. Like, the idea of an emergency program.
Yeah, he came on, please state the nature of medical emergency.
Yeah, they come on, they do the job, they go away again.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense to let them keep the memories, because unless they're sentient, why would you? So it's not a huge shock that Janeway doesn't know what happened previously, but we get the sense that there's a bit more to this program of Janeway than just a helping hand. Like there's something more to her. But she's been blocked from some of it, and this is where Gwyn gets to come in and use her language skills, and she cracks it. And
it's coded, and Gwyn goes, "This is in my language."
Yeah, which raises some interesting questions as to who's encrypted it with that language. At what point have they done that, and why?
Yeah, well, it's almost as if the divine. We don't know. I'm guessing that the diviner's taken the Prodigy or captured it somehow, but something's gone wrong part way through the capture. Is why he's lost it.
Yeah, maybe he had it somewhere else and then it blasted off, and that's why it's in the middle of all the rock and everything.
Yeah,
it's come out of what I'm calling proto warp, and I'll trademark that. It's come out of warp in the middle of the planet or something, and that's why he's looking for it. So he knows it's in that planet, but he doesn't know why. I don't know. Maybe he helped the Federation develop it.
No, I don't think he's helped develop it. I think that he's wanting to steal it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that he's maybe managed to do something, which is what we see with the logs where Janeway comes up at the end and all that. That something's happened. Because how else has the memory core got his language?
Yeah.
It's sort of like the encryption to it.
Well, that's what I'm wondering, if maybe he had a hand in the developing. So we don't know that he's a Delta Quadrant species. He could be. Yeah,
but it isn't sort of how the memory core works. It's like Janeway's there. I don't know how the protostar works. I don't know what happened to the ship. I don't know how I got here. And it's like specific things have been cut off, and there's a code blocking that part of the memory.
Yeah.
It isn't like it's his language that is making up the memory.
Yeah, the operating system's not.
Yeah, it's his language that's the code that's been put into coding.
Yeah, there's definitely something more going on here, and the timeline is a little bit weird, because it's, if he was looking for the protostar 17 years ago, how does that work? Because The Chakotay can't have lost it 17,
Yeah, like
unless time travel's going to play a part. But
I like they've always said that it's set. Is it just 17 years after Voyager? So that puts it just before Picard. But is it 17 years after Voyager that the Protostar is launched?
yeah,
and then there's an unknown amount of time that's passed since then.
maybe, yeah. I don't know, because or if it's 17 years before and he's looking for the Protostar, that'd mean Chakotay immediately gets promoted and then loses a ship straight away.
Yeah.
Which I'm up for that. I'm always up for giving Chakotay a kick.
It's like if this is the fastest ship they've got, and they're going back to the Delta Quadrant, it is possible that they have used Voyager crew for that and promoted him for that reason.
Because they know the quadrant.
Because they've been through the Delta Quadrant. They're the crew that actually know that region of space.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And Janeway's maybe not wanted to go back, and that's why they've put the hologram there.
I don't blame her. Like, you would be a bit annoyed if they'd gone, right, have we got a good assignment for you?
Yeah. You know where you've just spent 7 years getting home from?
Yeah.
Guess where you're going?
You're going straight back there, Chakotay. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, what's great about it is this is, to all intents and purposes, a kids' show, but it's got us thinking and it's got us speculating. It's got us...
I think it's very clever that as a kids' show, it works.
Yeah.
That you don't need to understand all this backstory and know all this backstory.
True.
You don't even need to know the backstory of who the legacy characters are.
No, you don't. But what's great about that is that if kids watching this, they might go... and
yeah, but it's not just... That is what I was going to say. I was going to say the great part is it also works for us.
Oh, yeah.
As adults and seasoned Trekkies, that we love this sort of stuff.
Yeah, no, it's definitely...
And it's very clever to write a show for kids that will appeal to the adults as well.
Yeah, definitely. And no, what I was getting at is it'd be great if there's kids watching this and they go, oh, who's that guy? And that gets them into watching a bit of DS9 or a bit of the movies. But
this makes it great. Like, I've not got kids. You haven't. But
no.
This is great for any Trekkies, bringing the kids into it.
Oh, yeah.
To watch it. And then they are going to go, who's that? And
yeah. Well, right. If you want to know who that is, I've got 178 episodes that you can watch now. No, great episode. A lot to live up to now. And we can't expect that every week, but it's just an absolute treat for fans, that episode.
Well, we've still got how he got out of the Kobayashi we haven't covered.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Well, he kind of didn't. I mean, he
didn't, but his final solution, come on, that's pretty. He didn't. He got as close. If he hadn't put his feet up, he beat the Kobayashi Maru.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah.
And the only other person to ever beat the Kobayashi Maru is Kirk, and he cheated.
That's true. I still maintain that in the books, Captain Calhoun kind of beat it, but yeah.
But Dal beat it to all intents and purposes. Dal beats the Kobayashi here, and his solution is brilliant. AC/DC.
Yeah, that's got to be a call out to Star Trek Beyond, playing the music and everything.
Well, it is, but
yeah. No, it's really good, and they beam over to the Klingon ship and everything, and you get that lovely scene where Spock passes on some advice to him. And yeah, it's just so well done. It's brilliant. So yeah, are we putting Dal in the Kobayashi Maru ranking table then? Are we putting Dal at number 2 then after?
I think you have to. Like when he boarded the Klingon ship, if he hadn't gone, I'm going to pilot it back and put his feet up and accidentally press the launch torpedo button, he had beaten the Kobayashi Maru.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we'll put Dal at number 2, Kirk at number 1, and then the only other one we've seen, Savick. So Savick's got to go at number 3.
Yeah.
But there's quite a drop between Dal and Savick because Savick didn't do that great a job. So if anyone else has a crack at the Kobayashi Maru, we'll put them. That's our official ranking of it now.
Yeah, Kurt, Dal.
We won't include Captain Calhoun, so we won't include non-canon sources.
By canon, I think you've got to give it to Dal. That apart from, he could have he's redone it so many times. He could have gone back and redone it again, exactly the same as what he'd just done, and not put his feet up on that button.
He could have done it if he'd have had a bit more of the Boimler attitude. He could have kept on going, and in fact, they'd probably get on quite well, Dal and Boimler. But there you go. This is the thing. We could have a crossover. We could have Lower Decks animated in the Prodigy style and Prodigy animated in the Lower Decks style. That could be good fun. So, Dominion War then. So, while we're covering the shorter episodes, we're going to delve back into the Dominion War a little bit. So, we're up to the end of season 3 now of DS9, The Adversary. And this one, to me, I always felt this was a bit anticlimactic after we had that 2-parter in probably his cast.
Yeah, this would have probably been better put as episode 24 and the 2-parter put at the end.
Yeah, and also with how big an episode the season 2 finale, the Jem'Hadar, was, I think it set us up to expect something really, really big. And I'm not saying it's a good episode. It just doesn't have that sort of wow factor that you expect from a finale. And I think part of the reason for this is they spent all the season finale budget doing a bit of future planning and building all the sets for the Defiant. Because up until this point, we've had the bridge and we've had the crew quarters, and that's been it on the Defiant. And then all of a sudden, this episode, we get main engineering, we get all the Jeffries tubes, we get the mess hall. So I kind of feel like we've got a little bit of extra money in the pot for the season finale. We want to do a lot more on the Defiant in the upcoming season.
I also wonder, because we know what's coming up at the start of season 4, if they carried some budget over.
Possibly so. I mean, that one got a huge budget injection anyways. They treated it like a pilot, basically. But yeah, maybe a bit of that. Maybe a bit of not quite knowing what was coming next season. So they didn't want to open up too much, leave it on a direct cliffhanger. So I know there was a bit sort of backstage on DS9 at this point. The producers were kind of pushing for, well, we need you to revamp it a bit. We want you to bring the Klingons in. We want you to bring Worf in. And all that was going on. Whereas the DS9 writers were like, well, we've got this Dominion War story we want to tell. And so I think there was a bit of push and shove going on there. And maybe they didn't want to, if they'd left it on a massive cliffhanger and then the studios
went one way instead of the other. To be fair, bringing the Klingons in works really well in the Dominion War, and it makes a lot more sense. It sort of opens it up more that it is the Alpha Quadrant and the Beta Quadrant that are fighting the Dominion. It's everyone. Yeah,
I mean, it's no secret that wasn't the writer's first choice to do that, but when they were given the edicts to do it, they didn't half make it work. But that's for next time anyway. But this one, we do get some big things. Like Sisko gets promoted to captain, so we finally got Captain Sisko.
And about time,
absolutely. We've also got Sisko's got a beard, but he's got a real beard in this episode because
not by the end of it, if you notice, it's down to Sisko beard.
We've introduced Sisko's beard in the previous couple of episodes, but it was a very suspicious stick-on beard that they were obviously using while Avery Brooks grew out the actual beard. But thankfully, at this point, it's a real beard. He's allowed to have a real beard. And he's just one step away from shaving the head and finally being himself, and which is what he's wanted all this time.
Well, that's it. It's like it is. It's a really funny thing because how Avery Brooks looks and the other stuff he'd been in, and then when it's DS9 started, it's like, you sure that's Avery Brooks?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like
You've got this actor that we all know and love,
and
and he doesn't look like him.
and let's be honest, Avery Brooks looks like a badass that you're not going to mess with. And
although, when you retrospectively, it's quite nice that he doesn't look the badass straight away because he's trying to make peace with Voyager.
That's true. He's a softer edged character, but now that he's getting into the war, he's
becoming right. It's time to Avery up now.
Yeah, it's needed. Kind of like apologies to anyone who doesn't follow wrestling, but there was a time when Triple H was feuding with Mankind and he kept beating Mankind. And then Mankind said, "Oh, I can't beat you, but Cactus Jack can." And it was same fella, just different clothes.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it were like, "Oh, shit, not Cactus Jack." So we've got even exactly the same bloke you've just beaten every week for the last 6 weeks. No, but he's called something different. He's wearing crocodile skin boots now. So yeah, it's kind of like that. It's like, Cisco when he goes bald. But anyway, still pretty cool in this episode. We get this new species mentioned, the Zen Cafe, which I think in the books and stuff they've decided are a big lizard people, but we never actually see them.
Have we never seen the Zen Cafe?
I don't think we've ever actually seen them, and we certainly don't in this episode.
Right, I didn't realise we'd never seen them.
Yeah, I mean, we may have done since. I don't know, maybe they crop up in an Enterprise episode or something, but certainly not to this point. It was just like, so I remember watching it at the time, who? And I know that's kind of the point of the episode, but it just seemed a little weird that all of a sudden we've got this new species and the Federation's had a war with them in the past, but we've never heard of them before and we don't really again. Cisco in his log entry says like, "Oh, I hope that my time as captain will prove to be challenging." Yes, it will.
Yes, it will.
Very much so. You haven't seen anything yet, mate. And there's some good stuff with Eddington in this episode as well, like a bit of foreshadowing, really. Like you get the early bit when they're doing the ceremony. And he says, as someone who is obsessed with rank and title. And then you get a follow-up to it later on where he says, you don't join Starfleet to put on a gold shirt. Everyone wants to be a captain. And in retrospect, it's like, are these hints that Eddington's not really happy with?
Yeah, I picked that up whenever he watched this.
Yeah, he's almost telling Cisco like, I'm not happy where I am, and
it's interesting. It's interesting. You don't put the gold uniform on if you want to be a captain. Try telling Kirk that.
Yes, yeah, very true. And Worf. I mean, I know Worf's not officially a captain.
Worf had to. Worf transferred out, didn't he?
He did, yeah. So, but yes, yeah, very good point.
But Data made temporary captain of.
Yeah. So yeah,
TNG.
Yeah, I think you've been a bit negative there, Eddington. You want to be a captain, you can try and be captain, but we know that's not what you really want. We know that you're a scummy traitor, and we're going to find out next season. So it's almost like he's almost giving Cisco a bit of a heads up here, like, you need to watch me. I'm not happy.
Yeah.
And that's obviously their relationship's going to develop a lot in the later episodes. I don't think we're certainly not going to cover the main Eddington episodes. We might see him again a couple of times, but we're not going to cover it in this Dominion thing. We'll have to do like an Eddington mini arc at some point and just cover the Cisco Eddington episodes.
Yeah,
They're
it's not like there's a couple of episodes. This is one of them. There's a couple of episodes that lead up to it, and then there's the sort of Cisco hunting Eddington.
Yeah, it's almost like a trilogy of episodes that deal with Eddington. But yeah, we'll come to that at some point. There's a lovely scene with like Cisco and Dax where they're gossiping about Cassidy. And I love the dynamic between Cisco and Dax because you've still got this holdover from Curzon where it's like one of his mates,
a couple of lads
that are having a chat, but Dax has also got the female perspective on it, and it's really, really cool how that manifests itself. Like, if this was another bloke talking to Cisco, they'd probably be taking piss a little bit more and ribbing him a little bit more about it, which I'm not saying is a good quality of men, but it is a quality of a lot of men.
It's something that we do.
Yeah. Whereas Dax can do a bit of that, but then also switch to, I'm so happy for you that you've got this new partner. And so it's brilliant.
What, you've seen her 3 times? That's serious.
Yeah.
And Americans are very much into that as well, aren't they? That the third date is
the third date's meant to be the one. So maybe, I don't know, maybe is there some link between the third date and Cisco getting his beard? I don't know. Maybe that's how he celebrated. Or maybe he got the beard to go on the third day. So we need a bit of suave, a bit of, I don't know. But that's up to them. And, as long as everyone's taken their injection and everything, then...
And don't forget the injections ever because they're busy.
Cisco, keep that in mind. There is a war on.
Let that be a warning.
Yeah. And then, we see the dodgy box at the start. So there's a dodgy box in the foreground while O'Brien's working. But then the next bit is you've got Bashir in the Jeffries tube. And it's one of them where you wouldn't necessarily pick up on it the first time. But rewatching it, I love that there's a moment where O'Brien says to Bashir, "What were you doing up here?" And he says, why didn't you call out? And he says, "I had this spanner in my mouth." And knowing that he's a changeling, you've got to imagine that the changeling just made that spanner when he said that. And, right, I've got to have an excuse for being here. Blah, blah, and with this spanner. And I just think that's brilliant because you can infer that when you watch it again. But you wouldn't necessarily the first time round. So it's a very sort of enclosed, paranoid episode, this. And there's no question that this is heavily influenced by Alien and by The Thing.
Yeah.
And, nobody's trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes there. But
no, but like, let's be honest, sci-fi does this all the time, doesn't it? There's great sci-fi stories, and it gets mimicked and copied.
Yeah,
and
of course, if you're going to do a paranoid story where you don't know who's the baddie, you've got to call back to The Thing, because it's not been done better than that. So you might as well give it a go and see what spin you can put on it. But all the crawling around the Jeffries tubes is very Alien as well, and it works really well as a mishmash. And we get there by we can't contact the planet, so we have to assume that we're at war with the Zencathé. Maybe jumping to conclusions a little bit there. I won't go in.
They've got what the admiral has given him a briefing about it as well, hasn't he? So he's got a briefing. Like, I've got a lot of problems with this.
Yeah.
That basically Cisco is set off on this mission to Zencathé Prime or whatever it is. That there's been an uprising and we've got to go sort it out.
Yeah.
On one person's word.
Yeah.
And
that's it.
And he's an ambassador. So he's not even
Yeah, he's not had direct orders from Starfleet Command to do this. Yeah, you'd think it'd be like, well, I'll just give the Admiral.
There's got to be a chain of command.
Yeah, like, oh no,
It sort of breaks down the chain of command, does this, that?
yeah, you got to imagine the ambassador's like, no, Cisco, you don't need to ring the admiral. Don't worry about it. Honestly, no,
Yeah.
he told me to tell you.
Yeah.
Look, I've got a letter and it's got his royal seal on it. He's done it in wax. So definitely.
It is so, isn't it? It's something that strikes me about this episode. And
it takes a bit of a leap to imagine that
it's like
will jump on
either that or the faked communications as well that we don't see on screen.
There's a much bigger, more elaborate thing going on. But yeah, you'd also imagine, like, surely Cisco's got to file a flight plan with Starfleet Command to say, I'm taking all the senior officers with me to the Zencathi homeworld. Is that all right? You know?
Yeah. We just have to go stop this war.
Yeah. It's what war, Cisco? Oh, you know, the one the ambassador told me about. Yeah. But you've just got to roll with it, haven't you?
I know that we roll with this in not just Star Trek, but we do it in a lot of in numerous shows.
Because if Cisco does call an admiral to check, we don't get the episode, so never mind. Or it's a very short episode, just like Captain rooted out a changeling infiltrator in 2 minutes by making a phone call. Boom. And yeah, they find the weird shape-shifty wires. You'd think at this point someone would say, oh, hang on, who are we having problems with at the moment? The Dominion. Who's the leaders of the Dominion? Shapeshifters. Could it be that? But no, we have to wait for the reveal that it's a changeling. I like that, like, O'Brien sort of dobs Bashir in, like, you know, is, well, I saw you in the conduit, you know, so, and Dax is like, oh, wait a minute, no, let's scan everyone instead. You know, we'll see who's got tetrion particles, and that's the way of doing it. So this is like the first riff on the thing, really, where we've got them going up and scanning everybody one by one to see who it actually is. And the length of time it takes to scan someone is directly proportionate to the amount of drama that we have to wring out of it. So some people it's just, nope, you're fine. And then some people it's like, oh, we thought you might not be, but you were. And then for the ambassador, it takes even longer because we've got to have O'Brien and Bashir having dialogue in the background saying, oh, but no, I wasn't in the conduit. And so the scan's got to take long enough for that to drop before we can have the reveal that it is actually a changeling. And he's managed to take over the ship and arm the weapons and put the cloak on, and he's trying to start a war. And they've got to work out a way to actually find him on the ship. And we get a lot of foreshadowing at this point. Odo says, no changeling has ever harmed another. And oh, by the way, I've never fired a weapon or killed anybody. Okay. Right, just so we know those.
Just so we know you've never done that and no changeling's ever done that.
Right, good. We've got that. Well, I'll tell you what, Odo, you won't fire a weapon this episode, but the other two, I won't miss the show. And yeah, it's, you know, you've got to drop it in. We've had that. That's the third time now we've heard no changelings ever harmed another. So I think even if you're only a casual observer at this point, you're thinking, yeah, that's going to change. Cisco's, as all Starfleet captains are, just cannot wait to activate the self-destruct.
Yeah, first opportunity.
Yeah,
self-destruct.
Like, wait a minute, Cisco. Aren't you locked out of all the systems? You can't even turn the cloaking device off, never mind.
Yeah, but self-destruct is captain only. Voice activated.
You're right. That overwrites everything. And it's crap security codes again. Like, you know, in Star Trek the movie, Star Trek 3 rather, like, what's the security? Oh, it's code 1A. And
well,
now
that's from the TOS episode.
Let that be.
So they've actually gone back to so that was actually in Star Trek 3. that was a really nice Easter egg.
It was, yeah.
That the
I
the
still
reference to
think
OS.
if you're making security codes to blow up look, I can't set up a security code to do my online shopping without it saying it needs a special character. It needs it needs uppercase, it needs lowercase, it needs at least one number.
And it has to be 15 characters long.
Yeah, but Kira can go, what do you want the password for blowing up the ship to be? Oh, beta 2 beta.
Was
Yeah,
it one of mine at work has to have upper and lowercase, numbers a special character, be over 10 characters long, and have to change it every 3 months.
Yeah. And so, but Kira can have beta 2 beta. I mean, that'd get an error code straight away. It'd be like, you can't, because it's code beta, so you can't call it the same as the thing that you're doing. Yeah. Anyway, dead easy to set the auto destruct, even when a changeling's taken over your ship, which is fine. There's some really good tense scenes where they're like, right, we're gonna team up in pairs. And who should we put together? Put Odo and Eddington together. What, you mean the two security specialists? Put them in one team?
Yeah, you're not going to split them up and sort of have two security specialist teams.
Maybe. Do you not think one of them should maybe be with Cisco because he's the captain? Maybe one of them in engineering so that O'Brien don't get killed because we need O'Brien. No, we'll put them in one team together, so that's fine. And Cisco, his mate gets got, so we know Cisco's mate's gone, and he bumps into Kira and the Bolian, and there's this really good paranoid scene where
the Bolian suspects everyone.
Yeah, and they're all crawling about like that bit in Alien where Dallas is crawling through the things, and I always wonder, you know, the bit where they've got the guns and they go, we're going to sweep the whole thing. And they fire it down the Jeffries tubes. Like, shouldn't you be firing it at the bulkheads to make sure it's not a bulkhead?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It's not going to be the air in the middle. It's going to be...
Like, I wondered if it's because of the thing it's at, that it's sort of spread out a bit like that. Out. So you've got it actually... going down the centre, but it's hitting all the edges as it goes. I'm thinking it's what it's doing.
That's the implication, I think. But it always struck me as looking a little bit weird. Like, you're not going to hit anything.
But it's sort of like, do you have them going along walls like that?
Well,
or do you have them shoot down the corridor? And shoot down the corridor looks more impressive.
It looks a lot cooler, yeah. And it raises the tension a lot more than, like you say, it'd be a bit boring if there's...
And it raises the temperature, so we know it's not Eddington.
Yeah, good point. Yes, he's sweating.
Yeah, because Odo points out, my species doesn't sweat.
Yeah, but they decide, right, blood, that's it. Why don't they just spit on floor? That'd have worked. Yeah. Rather than being dramatic and cutting
yourself. I know. Everyone spit. Go on.
Yeah,
Gob on floor. Gob on deck now.
And that'd have worked, but there you go. But then we get the thing part 2 with the blood tests, and this is even more the thing. This is like the bit with the Petri dish, and and this is probably your answer, actually, because if everyone had just spat on the floor, the Bashir changeling wouldn't have been able to do his little switcheroo thing that he does and get away with it. So... there you go. We've solved it. You didn't need all this blood stuff. But yeah, again, that's really good. And the hypo spray thing that he's using is working on the same rules as the tricorder, that it takes as long as is dramatically necessary to
draw blood.
Do a blood test. And Bashir ekes it out as well, where he's taking it out of the thing and he's taking it out of that. He's like, you could have just gone like that. No. You've got to do it really, really dramatically. And some of them I'll check them as well to make it look even worse. But I mean, you could say that from the changeling's point of view, he's doing that. It's like a magic trick. Like,
well, it is because he's doing a bit of palming, isn't he, with the
and
the actual vial that he should use on Eddington.
That's the thing. So, like, if
he's got to palm that and then create one.
if you're gonna do the trick on the third time that you do the motion, you've got to really clearly establish what the motion is the first 2 times that you do it, so that the audience don't notice when you're actually doing the trick, which is what he does.
He's like a bit of our Paul Daniels, hasn't he?
Oh,
Not a
Paul
lot,
Daniels.
just a little bit.
Yeah, not a lot. There you go. Anyone who doesn't know who Paul Daniels is, Google Paul Daniels. You'll have hours and hours of fun.
Sorry, that was just a little Easter egg I threw in there.
Yeah, Paul. Yeah, very good. Do you remember when that used to be on Saturday nights? The Paul Daniels Magic Show.
I do.
Great. Loved it.
I remember when Mrs. Merton interviewed Debbie McGee.
Oh, yeah.
And what attracted you to millionaire Paul Daniels in the first place?
To be fair, in Debbie McGee's defence, they did seem really happy together.
They were. And they'd worked together a lot of years. It was fine.
So I'm not
it was just how Mrs. Merton did.
Yeah, Mrs. Merton were great. So it looks like Eddington's the changeling, but as you rightly said, it can't be him because it was sweating earlier on.
Yeah, Odo's already established that for us.
So there you go, Odo. You should have picked up on that. You were there when he was sweating. But it's actually Bashir. And
well, to be fair, when you watch this, Odo looks suspicious about this.
Yeah, he does. And rightly so. And it's not
like, why did you let it carry on?
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe he wanted to, root him out. I don't know. But it's not the last time changelings will decide that Bashir's a good person to imitate. So we'll keep an eye out for that in
future. This is a bit of foreboding as well, isn't it?
Yeah. And then, it all leads to the classic. We've got 2 of the same character. And which one's the real one? But O'Brien don't want to choose the changeling, so he's not in the mood for it at all. And what I really like about this is the way René Auberjonois performs it. The real Odo is the one that's talking less. Like, he's just focused on the other one, really closely watching what it's doing.
Yeah.
Ready to react to it. Whereas the one that isn't Odo is speaking a lot more as if he's trying to convince people.
Yeah.
And
the reality is that Odo doesn't talk a lot. So that's your big clue straight away.
So that's it. It's a really subtle way in his performance of showing which one is the real one and which one isn't.
Yeah.
And they have a bit of a fight. And the limits of late 90s TV CGI, unfortunately, I think do rear the head a little bit in this bit. Like, the Odo's hands don't look good at all. And
but at the time, they did.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. And what you've got to remember is this is only a few years removed from Terminator 2, which was the first time we really got that morphing technology.
Yeah, and that was done on a massive budget.
Yeah, it was a ludicrous budget for Terminator 2 at the time. I think wasn't it the most expensive film ever at the time?
At the time, I think it was. I think James Cameron's done that a few times.
Yeah, he gets a bit carried away with himself, doesn't he?
Let's be fair on that. His movies do gross the money to sort of justify it afterwards. So I think that's why studios he goes, I need $1 billion for this one. And they go, oh, don't know, James. And he goes, well, look at how much money I made when you give me $500 million.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, go on then, James.
Look at, I've had the highest grossing film of all time 3 times with Terminator 2 and Titanic and Avatar. So, yeah, he's a fairly safe bet. And you know what? It's trendy to knock James Cameron, but he knows how to make a film.
He does.
They are really, his films are great.
I think people knock him because it's taken so long for the sequel for Avatar.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've forgotten. No, I was going to say I've forgotten what happens in Avatar, but I have watched Dances with Wolves recently, so that's pretty much it. But with blue aliens, so
Oh, I haven't brought myself to watch Dances with Wolves for a long time.
it's great. It's Dances with Wolves.
It's a great movie, but
you need a good day.
you need to set your stall out to watch it.
You definitely do, yeah. And that's the thing. We've only got so many long films to watch. So if it comes down to Lord of the Rings or Dances with Wolves, you've probably got to go Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Odo's slightly dodgy CGI hands, and that you don't really get a sense of the weight of the characters while they're fighting. Like, it all feels a little bit hollow. Like, you don't really get a sense of he's really having a...
No, well, I looked at it a different way, that there wasn't weight involved. It was more sort of trying to flow into each other.
Yeah, true.
And who could take over the other one. So I got, like, when you have, like, the Admiral changeling,
Yeah.
Odo, and he's got into him. It's nothing to do with weight and pushing against him. It's trying to force him to flow into him and take him over.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. There's just something about it that just doesn't quite work for me. But I mean, it's still good.
Yeah,
And
I don't think you can look at it like a normal fight of two normal people against each other. I think it's got that. So it's very different that you're trying to make yourself that person.
Yeah, we can't really wrap our heads around it, I suppose. But yeah, I do like the way he takes out the changeling, that you have the part of the warp core exposed, and he pushes him onto it and everything.
Yeah, it was like, O'Brien had already said that. He said, I can drop the shield, but I have to drop every shield.
Yeah. And that leads to... See, this is a really good effect where the changeling sort of flakes away and it turns into like dust and everything. I thought that was
a brilliant effect.
Excellent.
And that stands up today.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely brilliant. And, you know, Odo, there you go. You can tick 2 off your bucket list. Oh, bucket list, Odo, didn't even mean to do that. Tick 2 off. You've now killed someone, and a changeling now has
killed another changeling.
So there you go. And yeah, he whispers something, and we get the final thing. They have the briefing at the end. It's like, oh yeah, it turns out the Admiral, it were bullshit. And
we checked with Starfleet, and they said they know nothing about this infection, them having a war or anything. What, you mean if you'd done like your chain of command thing?
Yeah. Do you reckon, like, in the bits of that briefing before we've seen it, Sisko's like, right, lads, this is the story, and we're all sticking to it. He brought his iPhone, and he had a video from Starfleet Command, and it were recorded, and they held up today's newspaper in it. So we thought we had orders. Everybody got that.
I like to think that, like, there's a thing here at the end. And it's when Odo does his reveal, and that's sort of like the cliffhanger of the series, isn't it? That the changeling had whispered to him that you're too late, we're everywhere.
Yeah.
But you've got to... It introduces a couple of problems. It's... Why did Odo wait so long to say anything about that?
Yes, he says, he hadn't spoke for like 3 days or something.
Yeah. So was Odo sort of playing in his head, well, should I tell them or shouldn't I?
Yeah.
Should I side with the changelings or should I side with them and let them know that they're too late to stop the people?
I've always read it as he just needs a bit of time to get his head together after killing.
I think he needs time to get his head together, but this is an important thing.
Oh yeah.
And you've got to sort of think, well, why hasn't he told them straight away? Is he sort of weighing up between the changelings and the soldiers, which side he's going?
He told
why it takes so long. But it also opens up the possibility that they are already everywhere, that Cisco did contact someone from Starfleet, or had orders to follow the Admiral's instructions, because a changeling was there to do it.
Yeah, that could easily be the case, because as we find out next season, at least one high-ranking admiral has been impersonated at some point by a changeling.
Like,
so
I was thinking about this and all that, and like we can look at a normal ship comes through and it can only hold so many people, but how many changelings could you actually get in a shuttlecraft? Because they can literally go to a liquid altogether.
oh yeah, you could get loads.
You could get, for the capacity, the amount of them that you could get through in a small ship compared to normal people.
Yeah, definitely.
It's huge.
And we've had that Jem'Hadar ship came through at the end of season 2. That could have dropped off any number of changelings.
Yeah. Potentially it could have dropped off thousands.
And in fact, if it did do that, that kind of retroactively means that the Dominion were more the aggressors than the Federation was. So that kind of gets the Federation off the hook. But, it's a little bit iffy.
I don't think you can get the Federation off the hook with the Dominion War. The Federation, when they found out that someone owned the Gamma Quadrant, shouldn't have started letting people set up colonies in the space.
They shouldn't.
They could have sent the ships through for diplomatic things, make contact.
Yeah, but yes, there we go.
How many times do we hear them go on about the Prime Directive and how you should make first contact?
Well,
we've gone through the wormhole. We're hearing rumours that it's run by this really aggressive race that controls everything. Now, should we make first contact peacefully and really cleverly, diplomatically, or should we bring a few million people through? And you see that planet there, we'll put our flag there. Oh, there's another one. Flag.
and now they've officially told us they don't want us coming through. So we'll stop coming through for a couple of months, and then we'll start again.
And we'll put a listening post in there. And
and we'll do this thing that we did in season 3 where we'll leave the wormhole open a crack so that we can have telecommunications through it. Yeah, a bit naughty, Federation. Anyway, that's the end of season 3 then, which means that next up we get to look at Way of the Warrior, which...
Yeah, maybe not next week. Though.
No. Okay. Is this a hint at what's to come in Prodigy that we might need a full...
No, I'm off to talk to you afterwards because I've got... Because people probably don't keep track of this like we do, but we're actually not far off our 50th episode.
50th live stream, yeah, that's true.
Live stream episode. So
yes, well, we'll definitely be covering Prodigy, and we will get to Way of the Warrior.
We'll cover something else.
Right. So yeah, let us know what you think about Prodigy, about the Dominion War, about anything to do with Star Trek, really.
Yeah.
You can tweet us at RetrekPod. You can email us retrekpod@gmail.com. You can come and join the Facebook group. You can check out the YouTube channels or on Twitch. It's just all of it.
I've had a new video out on Retrek Model Studios this week.
Excellent.
Just showing off my aftermarket parts for the Voyager build and some ideas what I'm going to be doing.
Yeah, so if you're interested at all in model building, Elliot's got fantastic stuff on there. But thanks for trekking with us this time, and we will see you next time on the Retrek.
Thank you. Bye-bye.